There are some things that honestly needed to be laughed upon because seeing immigrants going on a podcast arguing that Black Americans never built America, it's funny. And the funniest part is seeing a South Sudanese immigrant. I'm sorry, I'm not looking down on any country. Do not get me wrong. I'm not saying my own country, Nigeria, as well, is 99% better. But since a South Sudanese citizen sitting on a Black American podcast and having the audacity to say Black Americans did not build anything in America and it is immigrants that literally built America is where I am a bit confused. But anyways, I have a lot of clips. Maybe I will allow the clips to roll out before I say anything I want to say. So that people not say Sonia have bad mouths. Anyways, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sonia. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. Credits belong to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you, liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. With that being said, let's roll out the clips. I'll be back with commentaries. Let's go watch, guys.
Immigrants have built this country.
No.
I know.
No, they did
and
not.
like anti-immigration goes way,
No, they
way
did
back.
not. Black
it
people
goes way
built
back.
this nation.
Like even in the 1800s,
We was here.
1900s,
We was here.
they always hated immigrants. They always blamed everything on immigrants. But America has needed immigrants. America is what it is because they keep bringing immigrants to this country.
And this is
But we're not gonna say immigrants built this country. They did not.
they did.
Oh,
Can
go
I
ahead.
say? Can I point that out when we say that immigrants did not build this country? Immigrants did build this country because
Let him talk, bro.
Wait,
I don't know you, bro.
please.
Like I don't know why you've been talking to me. But what I'm trying to say is
Slow
immigrants
down.
built this
Relax.
country because
Relax.
a lot the Irish when they came in, the Italians, the
When
most
did they
of the
come here?
most of the railroad tracks were built by Chinese immigrants who came here in the 1800s and the 1700s. So when people say immigrants did not build this country, most of the United States were immigrants because Texas was part of Mexico until we got annexed by America. The Louisiana Purchase, where French was in Louisiana, those were immigrants. That's why they speak Creole. When you go up to Washington, all those places were built by immigrants. So when black people are saying, well, we are the foundation and we built everything, it's like, yes, y'all built the majority of things, but you cannot at the same point then push out all those other immigrants
Nobody's
who
pushing
came
out,
in
but
here
your
and say
blanket
that
statement was immigrants
they're
built
not
the country.
they're not important because this
No,
country was built as a
But
collective.
Immigrants played a part in building the country.
It was built as a
This country is what it is because
they
they brought immigrants here.
When did the immigrants?
Black Americans did not build America. So many pro-black propagandists, especially those within the FBA community, have been pushing rhetoric basically saying that they were the builders of America, which is mostly false. You see, the indigenous have been cultivating these lands, developing monuments, pyramids, for literally thousands of years before the Europeans arrived and before the Europeans brought Africans. As we fast forward to 1492, it wasn't the British that brought the Africans over. It was the Portuguese and primarily the Spanish. Spanish bloodlines were the ones that were first established in the Americas, the first ones to really build up America, at least from the perspective of Europeans. You see, the first Spanish arrivals brought a bunch of men with them, white Europeans, black Africans, but the majority of the population within the Americas was always indigenous. So, as time went on, the indigenous and the Europeans started mixing technologies, advancing the societies for Latinos, and also improving the societies back in European countries with the introduction of tomatoes, potatoes, etc., etc., etc. That led to more population growth, and of course, under the Spanish monarchy, there was the casta system, which allowed for individuals to basically marry outside of their race and begin the mixing process, or what we call the mestizaje. As the mestizaje was continuing, that's when you started seeing a huge rise of independence activists in Latin America, which were being led by primarily castizos and mestizos and mulattoes of their respective countries. whether that be in Puerto Rico, whether that be Peru or Mexico, etc. You see, just as the Pilgrims were establishing Plymouth County, the Spanish had already conquered most of the Americas. Not only that, but there was multiple marriages and wars of succession, such as the Portuguese War of Succession, which led to Brazil being a part of the Spanish Empire. Like, I'm just not really understanding this. From Florida to Washington, from California to Louisiana, like most of that was controlled by the Spanish, and it was developed by mestizos, by mulattoes of that time period. So Black Americans did not build this country. They came after the fact, after generations of mulattoes, mestizos, indigenous, castizos, and Europeans were developing and cultivating these lands. It's a silly position, and I just wish that FBA just properly educates themselves.
Immigrants did not build this country. New York City was a swampland before foundational Black Americans cleared it. Now that's either the truth or a lie. I didn't say the Red Indians came over here and cleared it. That's not what happened. I didn't say the Irish people came over here and cleared it. Find documentation of the Irish people coming over here clearing swampland. Find documentation of that. I got plenty of documentation saying that the slaves did, though. Plenty of documentation of that. So then who built the country? Indians didn't pick the cotton. Italians didn't pick the cotton. Latinos didn't pick the cotton. Who picked the cotton? Because without the cotton, there wouldn't have been no economy. Okay, so who built the country? Foundational Black Americans. Stop playing. Y'all stop playing. Just stop playing with yourself, because we know. We know. Who picked the tobacco? Wasn't no Mexicans picking it. Who picked the tobacco?
Yeah, they talk a lot of shit about us, foundational Black Americans. But it ain't nobody like us ever in the history of planet Earth. You can go to another planet. You'll never find nobody like us. Might find us, but you'll never find nobody like us. It ain't nobody that been through the struggle that we've been through. It ain't nobody ain't no group of people ever went into another place as slaves and ended up running that place, ended up dictating the culture of that place. And it ain't never happened. Foundation of Black Americans, we have the whole entire African DNA inside of us, inside this one country. We got the whole continent of Africa inside of us. All of they best, they tallest, they shortest, they brightest minds, they fastest runners, all of that. We got all of that inside of us. We are the greatest of Africa expressing their self. You understand me? We are the greatest of African expression pushed out. You feel me? So it ain't nobody nowhere that can compare to us. All of the immigrants that come over here that look at us and be like, oh, they lazy or this, that, and the third. If you can leave your country and go to another country, then you are in the top 20% of your country. So you can't compare your top 20% to just the average FBA. You got to compare your top 20% to our top 20%. And when you do that, it ain't even no comparison. You understand me? I'm talking about Caribbean countries, African countries, there ain't no comparison. And if you compare just a regular run-of-the-mill average Caribbean or Jamaican or whatever, or African, to just our average FBA, it ain't no comparison. We blowing them out the water. You understand me? So, FBA, don't let these folks, you know what I'm saying? A lot of these folks, they might look like you. They not you. They not you. It ain't nobody on earth that can compare to us.
Immigrants did not build America. The free labor of enslaved Black people built America. And when we say otherwise, it's erasing the actual gruesome history of this country, which directly impacted Black and Native Americans. When we speak about American history, we need to be accurate and ensure we understand timelines and definitions. No Black person in the Americas, from Canada to Argentina to Brazil to Trinidad, is an immigrant. Forced migration and enslavement for the development of new countries in the New World doesn't equal immigration. Slaves built the monuments from the White House to the U.S. Capitol and the Washington Monument, often performing the quarrying, masonry, and labor. Their labor was central to the construction of early American infrastructure, particularly in Washington, D.C. and the southern states. Slaves built the ports in New York City, the flattening of all the lands in all the cities in the newly formed colonies, which then turned into America. Enslaved people built nearly all the railroad infrastructure in American South before the Civil War, constructing thousands of miles of track that connected the region. From the 1830s to 1860s, slave laborers cleared land, graded routes, and laid tracks for almost every major line east of the Mississippi and the south of the Mason-Dixon line. The nearly 9,000 miles of track in the antebellum South were almost exclusively built by slave labor, which utilized thousands of rented slaves prior to the arrival of the Chinese workers to finish the rest in the westward expansion and due to the abolishment of slavery. Many of you keep mentioning Mexicans and other groups in this convo without understanding continental America today wasn't America then. Mexico is also a colonial settler country by Spain. The native populations have existed in these lands for thousands of years, so there are no Mexicans or Native Americans. The United States territory brought slaves to this continent in 1619. The westward expansion wasn't until 2.5 centuries later. The enslaved population built the wealth of America for those 250 years. So Americans had the ability to buy Louisiana, buy Mexico, and expand the country. No one else did this. The westward expansion started in 1801 and ended in 1861, was the rapid territorial growth of the United States from the Mississippi River to the Pacific Ocean, driven by the ideology of manifest destiny. It was then that the United States took vast amounts of land from Mexico, primarily through the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo in 1848, which ended the Mexican-American War and ceded over 520,000 square miles, creating the Mexican Cession, including now California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona. This expansion caused the forced removal, destruction of culture, and confinement of Native American populations to reservations. When we're having these conversations, it's absolutely imperative that you have a grasp on American history and timelines to accurately reflect what's being discussed, because while immigrants absolutely developed America, Black Americans and their free labor are wholly responsible for the wealth that America built and made it the nation that it is today. This doesn't negate the later contributions of immigrants, but we have to tell the story correctly. Happy Black History Month.
Build your own country. You didn't fucking build our country. You didn't build shit. Some of you worked here, yeah, but you didn't build. If that was the case, then you could build your own shit in your own country. Look at Africa. How great is that built? Tell me how great that's built over there. Wow. It's a economic powerhouse over there, isn't it?
Exactly.
Greatest standard of living on the planet.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Didn't even invent the wheel until the 1900s.
Well, you look at what a free market does for a country. The United States is, the founding is nothing short of a miracle, and because of that, the free market, you've been able to have some innovation that has changed the world.
Before I address this issue, I just want you to know that this white boy or this Oyibo guy is ignorant. He have no idea what he's talking about. Very loud and ignorant. He claimed that wheels were invented in 1900s. What? Even me, in the forest in Africa, I know that wheels were invented in somewhere 4000 BC, not 1800s. Now let's address the main issue. He claimed that we Africans didn't build Europe and America. We didn't build shit. If we built Europe and America, then Africa should have been economic power by now. Africa should have been developed by now. If we built Europe and America, if we don't take time, you might think this guy is making sense, but this guy is only loud and ignorant. Let me ask you this rhetorical question. If Europe and America could do it, why did they come to Africa? And why are they still here? A wise man once told me that most Americans have no idea what is happening outside the borders of America, and that is why some of them continue to wallow in their ignorance. Let me give you free education. During the European Industrial Revolution, Europeans didn't have the manpower, neither did they have the skills. So they travel outside the borders of Europe in search of knowledge, in search of manpower. There is one part of history that they don't tell us. A lot of people think the Europeans came here just for our manpower. No, our skills. Most Africans were knowledgeable more than the Europeans. Are you aware that back in the days, Europeans come to Africa to learn from us? Back in the days, they go to the Arabs to learn from them. They don't tell you this. There is one guy sitting beside him. You guys didn't pay attention to him. That boat guy, that Sakura guy. That guy claimed that American economic progress today is not magic, but because of free trade. Basically, what he's trying to say is because of American democracy. That is what he's trying to say. Well, let me educate you two. You two, you have no idea what you're talking about. Free trade. Come close, come close. Let me tell you this secret. I think most Americans are not aware. American economy became big because of the military. America have over either 500 or 700 military bases across the world. And America imposed their will on other countries. It's either you give them your resource, or they unalive you, or they bomb your country. That is what your country, America, is doing around the world. And I think you don't know. I want you to make research. You're asking, why is Africa not developed? We are not developed because your people keep interfering in our politics. We are not developed because your people keep unaliving all the good leaders we get on this continent. We are not developing because your so-called free trade market policy is targeted to make African economies poor. We are not developed because if we develop, your economies will collapse. We are not developing because you are living good at the expense of our sweat, at the expense of our resource. Let's put 1940, 1820 history aside because we were not born by then. Where is Libya good? Muammar Gaddafi was creating a reserve currency for Africa, backed by gold, backed by rare commodity. After you unalive Muammar Gaddafi, where is the gold that Muammar Gaddafi was trying to use to create a reserve currency for we Africans? Where is it? Whoa, they don't tell you this, right? You have no idea. You go and sit in that little studio of yours and start shouting. You think you are the only people on earth here with brains, right? Oh, let me even bring it down to recently what is happening in the Sahel. Your soldiers came to the Sahel in the name of fighting against terrorism, blah, blah, blah. But we later find out just this year, we discovered that your soldiers connived with this terrorist group and you guys were mining gold in Kidal. Hey. Free trade indeed. You sanctioned Zimbabwe because Zimbabwe took back their land. The only crime Zimbabwe did was to take back their land, their ancestral land, land that belongs to them. You sanctioned them. That was the only crime Zimbabwe did. You sanctioned Huawei because Huawei overtook iPhone, because Huawei was developing 5G. That was their only crime. You sanctioned them. Free market indeed. You sanctioned BYD because BYD overtook Tesla. The only crime BYD did was to be, or to create cars that people like. That was their only crime. Just last week, Joe Biden sanctioned them. Free market indeed. Just to help you understand that we blacks, we had the skills. And Europeans came to Africa here because of our skills, not just manpower. There are a lot of things that were invented by black people in America, which they are still using today. During slavery, a black man was not allowed to use his name for any invention. If a black man invent anything, that black man must use his slave master's name. Ignorance is a choice. You can go to ChatGTP, you can go to, ask.com, or you can Google it and see. A lot of black people invented a lot of things we are still using today. In fact, even the Arabs, they are all colonizers, but even the Arabs invented a lot of things that we are still using today. More than America. First hospital built in this world was built in Cairo by Ahmed Ibn Tulum. Look, I can mention a lot of Africans and Arabs who invented a lot of things. Not Europeans. Not Europeans. You invented the internet. America, you've done well. Kudos to you. We are still using the internet today, which we salute you. You've done extremely well. But there are a lot of things that were not invented by, these white guys in America. The first university in Africa. Look, I don't have time to mention all these things or these inventions, but I want you to make research on your own. Shalom. Americans are very good in taking other people's inventions, claiming that they invented it. Bill Gates didn't invent computer. Computer was developed by the Indians. Look, my videos are free. I give everybody the permission to download my videos. You can post it wherever you want to post it. It's free. Don't forget to hit on the like button. We want them to know that we are not dumb. We want them to know that most of them are ignorant and they are wallowing in ignorance. For that reason, they still think in 21st century, we Africans sleep on trees, we eat with monkeys. That is what most of them think. Hit on the like button. Shalom. See you in the next episode.
Immigrants did not build America. Slaves and their descendants, Black Americans, built America, like quite literally with their hands, okay? Let me explain to you the issue with Shabuzi's Grammy speech. Let me start by saying that immigrants have greatly enriched this country, okay? We would not be where we are without them. However, they did not build America. And I think this is such an important distinction to make during Black History Month, because the comment, immigrants built America, is rooted in the erasure of Black contribution, okay? Specifically, Black American contribution, however involuntary it was. I understand that Shabuzi was coming from a good place when he said that immigrants built this country, but historically and factually, it is incorrect, baby. Chattel slavery built this country, and it is important to recognize that. People don't want to talk about slavery, but the reality is that slavery in the cotton economy is what gave America its legs, baby. There would be no America without slavery. The enrichment that is immigration did not come until significantly after slavery, right? Slavery dates back to the 1600s, girl, okay? All the way until 1865, where we get the Emancipation Proclamation. And even after this point, there were some Black people who were still being held captive as slaves because they just didn't get the news yet, girl, okay? So when you think about that, how long slavery spanned, okay? And the fact that we get ushered into Reconstruction and Jim Crow, and slaves are now repurposed as sharecroppers, right? Or repurposed into roles in which they are only good for service. They are only good for, functional positions that help prop up the country, not actual careers, not anything actually profitable. Like literally, Black people simply migrated from slavery into something else until we get into the civil rights era. For the people who think that we're arguing semantics, not only is this an important distinction to make so that we are recounting American history and Black history accurately, but also because the suppression of Black history, the erasure of Black history, okay, is what leads to the repetition of these atrocities, not on Black bodies, but onto others. And this idea that Black history and American history, when it repeats, that it's going to repeat with the same people, it does not. It does not. And I think we're seeing a little bit of the proof, but that will never, ever, ever change the fact that the biggest and greatest group affected by American history, affected by the American plight, and that actually built America is Black American descendants of slaves.
The new mayor of New York gets up and tells the world that immigrants built New York. I got nothing against immigrants at all, but I do have something against people who erase historical facts. Just to be clear, enslaved Black people built New York and every other state in America. There's like receipts, literal receipts, with the amount of enslaved persons it took to build each city or building. The White House. Yeah, the disrespect, I'm over it. I'm done with it. I love you, Black man. I love you, Black woman. Knowledge is power. Power to the people.
Anyways, welcome back, guys, and thank you so much for watching all of that video. And I hope you guys enjoyed that particular video. You see, this is where the argument actually starts from. It starts from, oh, Black Americans love to portion things and make it look like they are literally the one that builds, while in their own real sense, because it is not in my own real sense, right? Black Americans did not build anything. I don't know where the issue of immigrant built is coming from, even to the point of a Latino. A Latino man also saying that Black Americans did not build anything, that was actually a lie, and claiming that Latin people actually contributed and did that. I'm not surprised when it comes to that particular Latino guy, because I have always known his type of videos to be anti-blacks, especially when it comes to Black Americans. Like, he literally do not like Black Americans. Even when we have an issue of Ashley Gonzalez, he also came and said what Ashley Gonzalez did was absolutely right, and he has nothing against Ashley Gonzalez. So he has made a lot of videos that I already see that he really do not vibe with Black Americans. So he can literally do anything to make sure that that quotation of in raising black should be involved. I don't know where people study their own history for, and I don't know how they come to the conclusion and they're literally taught that immigrants literally built America. I have never seen it growing up, even up till this date. You know, I've said it on countless videos that growing up, we idolized white folks so much, and we thought that white people actually invented every single thing that we own today, until we started digging deep and now understood that the only thing that the white people literally did was to bring politics and bring system that will literally favor them, that will literally make them look like they are in charge, while in real sense, they were literally not in charge. So even before the existence of America, of the colonization, sorry, not America, of colonization, of slave trade, of white people moving east, west, north, and south, they were already indigenous people in America. I don't know why it's so difficult for a lot of people to understand. There were people thriving in America. There were people living in America. There were black people enjoying every good fruit of America, also sowing every seed that they own in America, just because they actually want to stand. And that is why those people are literally called the indigenous Black Americans. And which is where the foundational Black American term is now coming. Although I have a video that I'll also roll out for you guys, probably in that clip, where you literally see a lot of people condemning the act of foundational Black Americans. And I don't know where all of that hate is coming from. I feel like if you're an immigrant and you are moving to a particular country, I think the first thing you should do very well is to research on that particular country you're going to, so that you don't go on their podcast and say nonsense. See, for someone like me, if you're saying something and I really do not understand the history of that thing, the depth of that thing, I literally do not need to argue blindly. I just keep calm and just let everything slide. But I find out that a lot of people just want to chase cloud with this same thing of immigrant built America. Black Americans never did anything for America, blah, 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 east, west, north, and south. And it has even gotten to the point that even when you go to a lot of websites right now, those websites are also corrupt. Those websites are also coming out to air out and tell you that, oh, Black Americans did not build, except for some strong sources. When you dig deep, and you will now understand where the fact is coming from. Just like this website that was telling me that American wasn't built by any single group. It is a result of many people forced and historical process over centuries. This simplest, honest answer is many different groups built American, often in unequal and conflict ways. Long before the Europeans arrived, Native American nations have thriving societies across the continent. Groups like the Iroquois Confederacy and many other developed agriculture, trade network, government system, and infrastructure. They shaped the land, culture, and influenced later American political ideas. from the 1500s onward, settlers from countries like England, Spain, and France established colonies. English settlers in places like Jamestown settlement, Spanish missions across the southwest, while French trading posts in Mississippi Valley. They brought new political system, economics, and conflicts that would form early America. Millions of Africans were forcefully brought through the transatlantic slave trade. Their labor was central to build the early economic, especially agriculture, cotton, tobacco, rice, and infrastructure. Despite oppression, they also shaped American culture, music, food, and languages. Over time, waves of immigrants helped build cities, industries, and infrastructures. Irish and German immigrants in the 1800s, Chinese laborers who helped build the first transcontinental railway, later arrived from the Italy estate, Eastern Europe, Latin American, Asian, and beyond. They powered industry growth and contribute to cultural diversity. America was also shaped by people by pushing changes. Founders like George Washington, abolists like Frederick Douglass, civil rights leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. These individuals have movements reshaped laws, rights, and national identity. America was built through a mix of cooperation and innovation, conflict, colonization, and displacement, freedom struggles, and inequality. That complex is essential to understand its history. As far as I'm concerned, whether you like it or not, whether you take it or leave it, Black Americans, indigenous Black Americans, the foundational Black Americans built America. There were already people existing in America. America was not just a barren land that people started coming from east, west, north, and south. People were there. People were surviving. People were enjoying. People were living. Even before the white colonization started, even before the transatlantic slave took place east, west, north, and south. So whenever I see immigrants argue so much on podcasts, on live streams, on different aspects of their life and said, oh, Black Americans did not build America, immigrants do, I really think they should literally do better and pass the right information out there so that they don't keep passing lies to generations upon generations. And that is why I'll try my possible best, and I'll keep trying my best to keep making this awareness known as possible as I can, okay? Anyways, let me know what you think in the comment section. Credits belong to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in today's episode. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe, like, comment, and share. And yes, guys, with that being said, with no further ado, I do like I always say in my videos, I'm going to be similar. I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye guys, I love you guys. Mwah.